welcome to Indie Handshake, Edición de Lucha Libre. I am your host, Jesus Cruz, and I am here today with my buen amigo, a guy so nice we had to interview him twice. This is his second appearance at Indie Handshake. Bigotes, aka Sweet, aka Sour Boon from Hood Slam. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Jesus. Saludos a todos mis amigos de Indie Handshake Wrestling Podcast.
So, translation, he's urging everybody to vote for Donald Trump in this upcoming election, November 3rd. And so, yeah, I had to interview you twice. Paul Ponte interviewed first. You were probably, I think, the second, third guest that we've had.
Yeah.
And I felt like you and I have had more of a connection when it comes to Lucha Libre. And I don't know if you guys covered too much of that, but that's why we wanted to do this episode. And I first met Boone at Arena Hayward. We had just opened the school with Jason Styles there in Hayward. And I believe it was the first Lucha Libre class that we ran. And it was only myself, Boone, and Black Panther, a referee / wrestler from the area.
No, it was Mascara Infernal.
No, it was just the three of us.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, Mascara Infernal didn't come until like later.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was just the three of us. It was the day that you first went to actually train, because before that I think you saw an American class, right?
I did watch an American class and I decided to sign up.
Yeah.
And then right after that, yeah, I went to I think maybe one American class where I couldn't roll at all. And then I trained with you and I did my first successful roll.
Yeah. No, right on, man. Well, I was the one who inspired you to do a good role. But how did you, I know who your influences were in Lucha Libre, but if you can tell everybody that doesn't know, what drew you into Lucha Libre?
Actually, I don't know if we've talked about this a lot. It was my coworker at work. He kept talking to me about professional wrestling, and I couldn't relate to him. All I could talk about was the stuff from the 90s, and he kept saying Lucha Underground, Lucha Underground. So I broke down. I was on graveyard shift. I downloaded an episode, and I was hooked. They had a casket match, which you know is my favorite, and I was absolutely hooked. I really enjoyed Mil Muertes at first, and then Pentagon Jr. from there, and Vampiro. And then, of course, I started looking a little bit further out of Lucha Underground and found Torito.
Yeah, aka Mascarita Dorada. Right. And then, so what made you decide, like, hey, I want to go and try this? I want to start training. And what made you pick our school?
Well, Mascarita Dorada is kind of what inspired me. Like, you know, if this little guy can do the coolest shit I've ever seen, then I can do something. Mm-hmm. So I sent a message to Vampiro, actually, and he said, asked him, you know, do you know any good wrestling schools in the Bay Area? And he's like, no. Most wrestling schools are shady as fuck, and they probably doesn't take your money.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that you contacted Vampiro.
Yeah, so that was my first experience looking for one, and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to go to all the top schools and pick one. So I went to Gold Rush first. I went to Revolution. And then before I go to the next school, I talked with some people from Stoner U, some of the then students. The guy I'm talking about actually dropped out, but he said they train a little snugger, you know. And I was like, well, what's that? Like, I didn't know what that meant. And he's like, oh, you know, like if we kick you in the face, we're really gonna kick you in the face. And I just looked at it, I was like, well, that's stupid. Like, I already knew it was a work. He's since dropped out, and I've trained with him, and they actually hold a great training as well. But that kind of crossed them off my list. So I went to Arena Hayward after going to BTW and not seeing Jason Styles. But Kaka was the one that told me about Arena Hayward, but he wouldn't just tell me about it. I had to like go be his friend, which is hard if you know Kaka. I had to like meet up with him twice. Once was at a Stoner U show, and then I had to meet up with him one other time. And then he finally gave me the address and when to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holding out a student. Well, you came in at the time where Jason had just left Big Time Wrestling after all these years that he's been there. And, you know, at the time, he didn't leave in good terms. So I think maybe that's why the hesitation from Kaka, because Kaka was still a Big Time Wrestling.
Yeah.
Jason had just opened the school, and it was kind of like,
So yeah, so while I was at BTW, like, and I recognized Kaka from an indie show, but he had his mask on, so I didn't really recognize him. I saw he had a Hood Slam shirt on when he was training, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna go talk to this guy. The girl I was sitting next to went to go talk to Ender, and I talked to Kaka, and I was like, oh, he piped up the school and was like, okay, but where's Jason? Like, I'm not signing up for anything before I talk to Jason.
Yeah.
And yeah, Kaka said, okay, kid, I like what you're doing, kid. And it's
kid.
and gave me his phone number and said call him later.
Yeah. And if anyone knows Jason Styles' phone number, it seems like the most fake number ever. It's like he has a lot of same numbers. It's like someone's just giving you a fake number.
Yeah, like 1-800-878-800 or something. Yeah.
So what, when you started training, was it what you expected, or were you surprised at how much athleticism it takes?
I was surprised at how much athleticism I didn't have. I mean, I knew I wasn't athletic, but after going to all those schools, I kind of had a good idea of what it was going to be. I went to 5 different schools and watched the training at each of them. So I knew what it was going to be, but I figured I could do a forward roll. I could not. I couldn't at all.
Yeah.
And I didn't master the forward roll till later. I learned the right and left with you that night.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it was, and I know once you got into Jason's class, then you saw that the Luchadores had a class right after his class. And a lot of times you stayed for both. So what was your preference at that point after experiencing both the American training and the Lucha training?
Jason's was always my favorite. Jason is so detail oriented. And at the time, the Lucha training was a little bit more haphazard. There was no real set trainer. It was just, whoever showed up. Exactly. And whoever's most experienced went to the front of the line, and we kind of did whatever. Going fast forward and forward, of course, we had Jason, Ryan, and then we had Meteoro. So learning Lucha from Meteoro was always more hard than learning from Jason. Yeah, you're sure?
Meteoro says.
But yeah, I would say Meteoro would still be my preference because of how he teaches. Even when Skyday came later, all respect to Skyday, Meteoro is almost like he was a teacher in a classroom that prepared everything the night before and knew what he was going to teach. So, you would learn to do a tackle, and then you would learn how to do a jarocha, which is the counter from a tackle. But if you don't do the class with Meteoro, they just seem, separated, and you never really know.
Yeah.
I did some training with Evolution, and I still use some of the stuff he showed me. I just use it with more psychology because I think he was really missing that.
Yeah, no, there was, Evolution, he was a talented guy to train with, but when it came to actual matches, it's like he'll do 7 dives back to back to the outside with no like rhyme or reason for it. And actually one time I booked him in match 1, and a lot of these older veteran luchadores take that as an insult. Like, oh, why am I in the first match? They really go by, where they're placed in the card, which wasn't the case. It was just, that night we had other stuff going on, and sure enough, his first match came in, he did like 7 dives to the outside, and it was like, okay, at one point the crowd just, when you're like that, at one point the crowd's just not going to be impressed anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
by the 7th dive, everyone was just silent, and he had to be like, hey, come on, look, dude, you already tired him out. But yeah, yes, that is very much lacking in the lucha libre aspect. So you're, especially in the lucha, since we're covering more of the lucha training, you're kind of came in as an outsider, kind of like as a gringo, as a guy, but you came in prepared because you were studying Spanish, or you were learning Spanish. And then once they saw that you were really committed to training and to learn Spanish, I really think that they embraced you as one of their own.
Absolutely. Just from my personal experience, whenever you're working with immigrant communities, whether it's from Mexico, El Salvador, or China, like, you have to learn the language to get inside the circle. I worked at a machine shop in South City, and the Chinese guys wouldn't train any of the California guys that came on as temporary. I stuck it out. I started learning Cantonese. And then when everybody, well, most of the Californians quit because it seemed like they're never going to hire us. But once I got hired on as permanent, they were treating me just like one of their own.
Yeah. And the nickname, and once you do get embraced by the luchadores, of course they give you the nickname Bigotes. Bigotes means, well, it's plural. It's weird because bigote means mustache. Bigotes plural also means mustache, but Bigotes was more of a nickname.
Yeah.
And it's obviously because of your mustache, but that was it. Like they saw you. Was it Meteoro that gave you the name Bigotes?
I don't know. I don't remember being called anything else by them.
Yeah.
I have a one syllable name that kind of translates to Spanish, Boon, yeah. But it's just Bigotes always.
Yeah, Bigotes! They just yell across the ring. No, but that's really cool, man. And yeah, like I said, that you got embraced by them, and then they started inviting you. Once you went pro, let's go back to that. Once your debut match, when was your debut match? Who was it against? And what was your experience doing? Like, oh my God, I'm actually having a match.
Yeah. I went back to watch the debut match a few months ago.
I don't remember what it was.
Oh, it was me versus Styles. So it was, Crusader versus Jason Styles from NC-17. And still one of my best matches. Jason will make anybody look good. And I went over by disqualification even. So it was great. Yeah.
So tell us about that character, the Christian Crusader, the character you created, because you wanted to be a masked luchador, right?
Yeah. So, well, I wanted to be the Christian Crusader at Hood Slam because, it's a lot of drinking and a lot of people who smoke weed. And it's like, oh, this can get over great. This can be a great heel. I'm going to be a top heel for a year. This is my wrestling dream. A little did I know, the promoters, fairly religious. Not Christian, but still very religious. And
so was the owner of the gym.
Chewy. But yeah, like I really had my heart set on doing that. And I did my best to get over at Arena Hayward. I even got merch for free from, Christian mailing list and stuff. So I could sell, I think I sold 2 stickers my whole time as the Crusader. But considering I spent no money on it, hey, $2 is $2.
And I remember you would take over the merch table. Like, the luchadores always want to sell their masks and their t-shirts. So it's like a fight to get real estate on this table. And you just have all your Bibles and stuff laid out. And people were like, where am I going to put my shit,
But yeah, I mean, the merch was to get the character over. It wasn't really to sell merch.
Yeah.
But that's how I came up with the character, and I did my best to get it over at Arena Hayward. I wasn't experienced enough to get it over at Hayward. I get over on the road later.
Yeah.
At Hayward, it was a real flop. And was it you or Jason that came up with the Beautiful Boon and the antibodies?
You. It was me.
I hated it. Hated it.
Oh, you did.
Hated it.
But it got you over. You and AJ, and then later Deidre were so over with that team, and then Donovan Troy came in as a manager, and he really got the crowd behind you guys. So I was like, dude, this is perfect. The crowd is hot for you guys. Lucha and American fans were behind it, but you just weren't feeling it. And
I was.
I remember you wouldn't bring your gear on purpose sometimes.
I was too new, and I was too blind to it, I didn't really learn how to work a crowd or to get a crowd behind me until I was essentially married to Necrosis for a while, just working wherever we were. And I remember it was at a show in San Jose, and the crowd finally got behind me, and then it's like, oh, I get it now. I finally selling and everything clicked. And I think that was right at the end of Beautiful Boon.
Yeah. So going back to the Christian Crusader, you're a masked wrestler, and you mentioned Hood Slam. So Hood Slam was your ultimate goal in wrestling. Even when you started training with us, your goal was to go to Hood Slam, and you did that goal, and I congratulate. I've done it before publicly. I'm really glad that you got to do that. And actually, now that I think about it, when we first posted on Arena Hayward, our first student, oh, by the way, he was the first graduate from the Arena Hayward Jason Styles School. And once we posted your gimmick, Christian Crusader with your mask, and you're like this, I remember she commented, oh, I'm gonna. I forgot what she said. Oh, I'm gonna really get along with this person or something like that. You know, I just thought that was like a whole 360. That now you're working at Hood Slam.
And I think that's part of something I just never thought of. You have to think about how your gimmick's going to be received by the promoter and also by the fans, more than just the gimmick inside your head that you're daydreaming. But I mean, I was just marking out at Hood Slam, like, oh yeah, like this is gonna be a great idea.
Yeah.
She gave me a much, Sheik was one of the best trainers I had, both not just in training when we trained together, but the way she kind of led me along and gave me certain props and gave me certain storylines at Hood Slam. I've learned a lot there, just from kind of like, here's kind of some blocks, put them together.
Yeah. And you started training with Sheik after Arena Hayward closed, right?
Right. So Arena Hayward closed. I wasn't going to go to BTW. I wasn't going to go to Revolution.
2017.
Yeah. So I wasn't going to go to, to another school. I wasn't going to turn my back. Jason said, don't worry, we're going to have another school for you shortly. I was like, okay, I'll hold on. So I started training not really with Mantis so much, but I started training at rings that Mantis had connections with, and then at Mantis's ring in Oakley, out in the wilderness, out on a ranch. So I did that until January, and then January Sheik started training, so I was doing a little bit of both.
Yeah, yeah, and again that shows your commitment to wanted to keep learning and wanted to keep working everywhere. So let's talk about one of the biggest opportunities you had, maybe a couple of months after debuting. And that was a show in Los Angeles, which was, they wanted to get on the Guinness World Book of Records as, was it 150 person battle royal, something like that? And
that's what they
yeah, I don't think they hit that goal. Basically, they had like 2 or 3 rings, and it was in this rodeo. And I remember there was a promoter in LA, and he hit me up or Roquero asking for people. So I sent them, they want guys from NorCal, SoCal, Mexico, all this part. So I remember I got Jason, Styles Book, Scotty Ringer, Samara, Christian Crusader, DJ Fresh, and Necrosis. And they were really new. You guys were brand new. And now you're in this battle royal with Ultimo Guerrero, all these CMLL big guys. And I thought it was hilarious because you guys were brand new. You guys were kids. You guys should have been eliminated right as soon as you got in. But you, Necrosis, and Deidre got together, and it's like, they're not going to take us. And you guys held each other like, no, we're not going to go out yet. We're not going to go out yet. And there's these big CMLL guys just trying to get you guys out of there. What was your experience doing that?
So that was one of my favorite matches ever, really. Me and Necrosis knew who the CMLL guys were. Deidre had no idea, So I kind of thought up this idea with, the guys in the back. I was like, okay, we're just going to work each other the whole time. 2-on-1. We'll go back. And if somebody jumps on us, all 3 of us will jump on them. We're going to stay in as long as we can.
Yeah.
I got split from the group, Los Luchas de Los Angeles. They picked me up, both of them, and threw me out. That was a long fall.
Yeah.
And Necrosis and Deidre worked for a bit, and then Necrosis goes out, and Deidre doesn't know who the guy from Consejo are. So he stays in, and yeah, like Ultimo Guerrero and all these guys are like beating up on him, and Necrosis are like trying to tell him, get out.
Oh, man.
But yeah, that was absolutely my favorite battle royal I've been in, and I look forward to more battle royals where I have friends there, just so I can employ that same fun tactic.
Yeah. What was the feeling in the locker room being in front of these guys? Like, Negro Casas, Felino, and all these dudes.
Yeah. So I remember, you know, Felino and Dali's coming up to us and asking us for translations. And then I remember when we went back after the Battle Royal, Caristico, who was one of the people I had watched and had fallen in love with, was, you know, for me to the camera where I'm sitting right now. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, I didn't mark out. I didn't, you know, shake his hand. But it's just like really surprising, you know, being 3 months in and having a match, even if it's just a Battle Royal, with one of your idols.
Yeah. Yeah. And another opportunity that happened. So you also, as you were trying to make a name for yourself as Christian Crusader, you would also get booked as a ref a lot, you know, and especially in lucha shows. And they get you, that's where another Bigotes, you know, the character Bigotes, the referee, also came about, you know, because in Lucha Libre, referees also are a big part as far as gimmick wise. Like, you know, there's tirantes, there's, you know, all these guys, and they wear their own signature things. Well, your signature things is on your face. It's bigotes. Yeah. And one of my moments with you that I marked out was when you got to ref a main event at Rocapulco. I don't even remember who the promoter. I think the promoter was Martin Marin from LA, and the main event was La Parca, original Parca Adolfo, Volador, or the senior, which was one of my idols growing up, and I forgot who else against La Familia de Tijuana, like Damien 666 and Bestia. And it was like, and you're reffing it. And so right there, I was already proud. Like, you're reffing this big main event with these guys. But then La Parca was doing a lot of spots with you.
Yeah.
To you and with you. And it was just like, oh, dude, I almost cried that day. I was so happy. You know, I was in the crowd and I was already, you know, I had a couple of drinks. I was there with like Mr. Punk and them. And I was like, straight up went up to the ring with my phone, just like, in awe recording this. How was that experience working with La Parca?
So I'm actually going to start off with a little bit else, seeing the Tijuana family. Mm-hmm. I had seen them at my first lucha show, which was from, I guess, Lady Shark and Black Shark. I remember seeing them, and that was also the first show I had ever seen a heel ref, and that was also the first show I'd ever seen Jason Styles. So, like, that also kind of really sunk in when I first saw my first Exótico. It was all that first show, and that was another thing that really hooked me into lucha more than American wrestling, which was, you know, is largely played out in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But working with La Parca was really cool because I remember the referee that they brought didn't want to do the main event. You know, he had done the main event the night before or whatever, and he's like, oh man, those guys really hit me. Oh God, you know, you can do it. You can do it. I was like, sweet. Because I grew up playing, you know, WCW versus NWO Revenge, and I'd always pick La Parca.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. They always came with the chair automatically, and no matter what.
Exactly. Like, I already got my head start advantage. And so to be able to, like, get in the ring and do spots with La Parca was really dope.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, the Rudos took off his belt, you know, they all hit him, and then they gave it to me. They gave it to me. I was like, okay, here we go. You know, I cracked him with it.
Yeah.
And then the good guys, and then the good guys, you know, they jumped on. I DQ, you know, the Técnicos.
Yeah.
Rudos go over that round. And then they told, like you were saying, you know, they're an interesting part of the story in lucha. A lot of the story they told in that match was the heel ref is, you know, starts out fairish, is heel, then he goes good. That was the big story of that match, was me and my transformation. So at the end, you know, he cracks me with the belt back, and then him and I start doing spots to, you know, the Tijuana family. You know, he whips me, I give him a splash, we do back rolls, we taunt together and everything. So.
And I remember at the end, though, he did, you know, because, and this is another thing about that show, you got Bigotes chants from the crowd.
Yeah.
Bigotes. And then at the end, Parca grabbed you by the mustache, and he kept asking for scissors, and you're just like, you broke his arms out, and you just rolled out of there.
Yeah, because I mean, he's big enough in fame and size-wise where he can do what he wants.
Yeah, I think that's when you realize, like, oh shit, I need to get this here. Yeah. No, no, that was a great day. You also, I think you also worked spots with Cristal that day. I
I
think she
did.
kept like stroking your mustache or something like during the match.
Yeah, I took a bump.
Yeah. Did she kiss you or something and you took a bump or something like
I
that?
think she pulled down her blouse and I took a
Oh,
bump.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. So then you got to, after working, Christian Crusader, that wasn't really working out for you at Arena Hayward. Uh, how did you get hooked up to work shows in Mexicali in Mexico? And how was your experience of working in Mexico for the first time? And under what name, what gimmick were you using?
Yeah, so Arena Hayward closed. I was going to remain loyal to Jason no matter what. So I started training, not with, but around, Mantis Lee. And Mantis went down to El Centro, kind of got backstabbed by a promotion down there, got stiffed by him and stuff, came back. And then he said, hey, I got this spot, got this promotion on the other side of the border in Mexicali. So, you don't want to come. I don't know if they're going to have a spot for you or what. So I came. I didn't, I don't remember what gear I brought, but I think I brought my Crusader gear. But of course, you have to have a license there and everything. And the angle they wanted to do, which, I had no idea when I went down there, they wanted to do kind of an NWO angle where these guys from America are invading, Mexicali. So I ended up not even wearing any of my gear. I just wore the clothes I had on, plus the t-shirt of the stable, the new standard. So, we went down there, didn't have a lot to work with, but actually I got Bigote's chance even down there that very first night, which was awesome. Then from there, they built the story of, the gringos invading. So what I would do is while I'm in San Francisco, I just said, okay, well, I guess I'm keeping the name Bigotes now, since that's what they're chanting. So I would cut promos about how San Francisco is better than Mexicali, how terrible Mexicali was. And it really absolutely was a terrible trip that first time when me and Mantis went down. We got stopped across the border. For those that don't know, you go across the border, you come across. Normally it's really easy. Sometimes you get taken to secondary and, extra search. We got secondary searched 3 times going back and across the border that trip. And then, so we got pulled over and we couldn't find anything. And they didn't give us ice and a Jamaica, and even their tacos weren't very good. And so I just made a list, just a list on my phone. And I went back to San Francisco. I was just like, I'm going to cut a promo about how much greater San Francisco is, whether it's our Jamaica is better than yours, whether it's our education is better than yours, whatever it is, I was going to cut it. Because another thing, once I cut that first promo, the fans down there, they would type away and they would say all these mean things back to me, which was exactly what I wanted. I'm very glad they did.
Yeah.
And they would, use a lot of misspellings because of the education system. And so I cut that down. I cut whatever I could find, I just really drove it into Mexicali. I had a great time down there, and the people down there are great.
That is the most heelish thing. Like, we're getting this American foreigner trying to tell us how to spell in our own language.
Yeah.
Weren't you doing some promos about water too? Something about some water company?
Yeah. So I was really fortunate. I got handed the sponsorship promo. The main promoter said, here's a bottle of water. When you go back up, cut a promo with this. And that was the best thing about Mexicali, and in Bigote's eyes, not in my eyes. But, I had 3 shots in front of me and I was blindfolded. One was Calexico water. I was like, one was Mexicali water, and one was Agua Vida. And I tried, the Agua Vida, and I liked it. Calexico was so-so. And then when I had the Agua Vida, I spit it right back at the camera. God, how do people drink this stuff, man?
Now, that arena that's behind you in your picture, is that Mexicali?
Yeah, so this is where we were wrestling. It's a Arena Nacionalista. Mr. Tempest is famous for wrestling here.
He's big in TJ too. I think he did a lot in Tijuana. Tempest.
Yeah.
So now that you worked American indie crowds and legit lucha libre crowds, do you have a preference on who to work in front of?
I'll take the crowd in Mexicali.
You know,
Yeah.
even would you say even over Hood Slam crowd?
Even over the Hood Slam crowd because of those promos. I can cut a promo in San Francisco, promote it on Facebook in Mexicali for very cheap. And when I walked out, I was the only American that they all knew. You know, everybody knew who Bigotes was because they all saw it on the Facebook streams or the Facebook feeds. So that was really cool, you know, to be the most over heel someplace.
Yeah.
And walking out and just, yeah. So I'll take Mexicali, Hood Slam, American Lucha, and then indie wrestling.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you ever used this. I was giving you some ideas of what to do when you went to Mexicali. Like, you know, you have your bigote. I don't know if you ever used it, but I told you, like, you need to go like some guy with a mustache and like a smaller mustache. Like, tu bigote pequeño. And maybe there's like, oh, el pequeño, you know. Or to go to a woman and the crowd's like, hey, I like your bigote. Like, nice bigote.
Yeah, I use both of those actually.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. No, that's great, man. That's great that you got that opportunity to go down there. What was it? I totally blanked out for a second.
Well, you know, the promotion was called PWL, Pro Wrestling Lucha. It was by a guy named Gabo Suarez. And they ran 5 shows. So we got to wrestle for a full year, you know.
Okay. That's cool. So let's talk about matches now. What has been one of your most memorable matches, good ones, and give me a bad one? I have a bad one in mind.
That's never good. Well, a bad American one was I'm gonna try to beat you to the punch. I don't know if I'm gonna nail it. A bad American one was I was Latka Kaufman, or Hijo de Kaufman.
Hijo de Kaufman, doing an Andy Kaufman parody.
Yeah, so that was another gimmick I didn't feel comfortable doing because, you know, I'm a feminist. And
who came up with that?
Kaka.
Oh,
yeah. Kaka even took me to the store. He said, "Tell this guy what you want, and here's your shirt." Okay, I'm gonna do it. Yes. But eventually I got into it and I saw how to work it. So I worked it and it actually worked really well. But when I did that, I ran to Hayward. I had a pregnancy scare. And my mind was nowhere near Arena Hayward.
Oh.
Yeah. So when I wrestled Ender, it was terrible. Like, that was one of my worst American matches because of me.
Oh, and that's the one I was thinking of, by the way.
Yes. Nailed it. All right. Well, I had a pregnancy scare. Wasn't completely sure on the girl's name. So.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah. So that's why that was such a bad match.
We could have had a Bigotitos running around.
You could have, and that would have been with the wrong person.
I didn't know that. This is the first time hearing that.
Yeah. One of my best lucha matches was against Roquero. Him and Jason really are the best in the Bay for Lucha Libre. And it was me and Roquero, and we were down wrestling for whoever's running in Watsonville at the time. And we really tore down the house. Yeah. Yeah. I even remember a lady from upstairs was drunk. She came down and started fighting with Roquero to save me. Yeah. Yeah. So we really got the crowd really invested. And that was undoubtedly my favorite Lucha Libre match.
And you also got to work with him in Oxnard, right? Down in SoCal?
So I didn't get a chance to work with him, but I got a chance to work in Oxnard because of him. And they have a really nice setup. It's Hex Pro Wrestling. And you're in a gym across the alley in another bar upstairs, and it's real nice. And you walk down across the alley. So it's a long ways, but you walk in and they got a lower ring and the fans are just right on you.
Yeah. 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 And I remember I went to one of the shows that you were in for there.
Yeah.
I know you mentioned a little bit about the Mexicali road trip, but is there another road trip story that's been your favorite?
Least favorite was definitely the Oxnard one back I invited my then ex-girlfriend, who at the time was already an ex-girlfriend, and one of the guys, I won't put him on blast, but one of the guys from Hex, like, bought her a few drinks, didn't know she had a drinking problem. And yeah, so when we drove back, she was smashed. And it was me, Necrosis, and Diablo Azteca. And I felt so bad and so embarrassed that, she was changing the stereo, she was blasting it, she was turning it down. And that's when I learned that, you don't bring your significant other on road trips. Or even if she's no longer a significant, just don't bring.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember hearing about that.
Yeah.
Oh man, what's your favorite shady promoter story? Either, you don't have to name names if you don't want to, but like either you got stiffed on pay, or the funniest excuse of why you did not get paid that night.
So my favorite shady promoter story was me and Kaka and a few other of us. We were working in Richmond, and the promoter was stiffing people left and right. And me and Kaka kind of saw that, and we knew they had enough money, so we waited. And so like we were like some of the last ones there, and we're just like, hey, so what about some money?
And we got paid.
Yeah, and we got paid.
That's an inside promoter.
But Kaka and I got paid decently, so that's my favorite story. Yeah. One of my least favorite stories is that time when Styles blew up at Pinales in Sacramento, and Pinales was trying to stiff people there, and Kaka and I, and especially Kaka, to his credit, really stood up to some of those same guys from Oxnard. Yeah, from Oxnard, and we're like, no, you're gonna pay this guy. So at least the guys from Oxnard got paid some.
Okay. What has been a crazy fan interaction you had Lucha Libre wise?
Walking out and everybody knowing who I was. The music hit, you go ton, 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 and people knew who I was. So that was already pretty crazy, only wrestling there, 3 times prior, the music hits and people are booing automatically. And then there was an older lady there who literally attacked us with their cane. And she hit one of my stablemates, and another one grabbed her cane and, tossed it back to her. But yeah, like literally being hit with a cane at Mexicali. But one of the things I do really appreciate about Mexicali and Lucha crowds is they get it, indie fan bases, well, not even indie fan bases, but people who aren't wrestling fans, they don't get, the heels are supposed to be heels. You're supposed to hate them. They're there to drive you nuts.
Yeah.
And you can't, so it just doesn't get through some people's heads, especially in America, whereas, in Mexicali, after our last show there, all the crowd really appreciated who I was. So that was nice. Like lots of people came, took photos with me, even though I was bigotes. I still took them, in character and everything.
So tell us a moment where something embarrassing has happened to you at a Lucha Libre show or a match or in the locker room.
It was when I was still really new and I was starting to get everything together. I had a problem with my tights. I don't remember what it was, but I had new tights or different tights. I think I had ordered tights off Amazon. And they looked nice in the pictures, but they were not. They were known, to slip right off my ass. And I had asked my roommate at the time, okay, so these tights are probably going to slip off at some point during my match. Do I want to wear these chonies or do I want to wear these chonies? And I had a pair of just all black ones, that I should have been wearing that, were just the tight, sports shorts. And then I had a pair with, red and white hearts on it. And I was like, well, this will make them laugh, and will blend in. She said, oh yeah, make the, the hearts. So I did, and it really didn't come out very well. Knowing that they were going to slip off, I probably should have worked it into the match, but I didn't. So that was one of the more embarrassing times.
Yeah.
just because it just looked like a really stupid mistake, even
Yeah.
though it was halfway thought about in beforehand.
That used to be one of Jason Styles' old spots where, he would wear his trunks, especially matches against Wild Storm. And then Wild Storm would go for a sunset flip over Jason. And as he was flipping, he'd grab his trunks and pull them down. And Jason would wear a thong underneath. So, and the girls would go, ah! And that was a very common spot that he did. So
Yeah.
I thought maybe he had taught you that.
No, he actually scolded me for doing it wrong, if anything. Maybe that's why he was extra extra noticed it.
He didn't wear a thong. So, what have been some of your favorite moments from Arena Hayward? We had a good 2-year run, and just like anything, the promotions sometimes they fold for various reasons. I felt the gym was awesome. I thought the feel of the gym was awesome. We had a lot of space there. We had an actual weight room there. But what were some of your favorite moments from Arena Hayward?
Making the posters with you. Yeah. Still one of my favorite things I've ever done as wrestling is working on the posters with you. That was definitely one of my favorite moments there. Oddly, one of the best lessons I got there was from Ryan, R2 Cool. He really broke down that, it's a business. Who's the best wrestler? The one that gets paid the most. That's it. So that's one of my really outstanding moments of being trained there. And waking up every day, or not every day, but waking up, every Sunday morning, 8 a.m., 7 a.m., whatever it was, going down to the Honduran restaurant down the street from me, having platanos and having black beans. And, yeah. Then, just going there when it's still cold as hell inside the arena and training and warming up and just building that bond with the 5 of you, you, Styles, Ender, and Scotty.
Yeah. Oh, I know it can get cold in there because I've slept in that ring.
Me and Bandolero slept in that ring while we were waiting for a show once.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had just flown in from Chicago or from, it was Chicago, right?
Yeah, it was Chicago. I picked him up at SFO. I took him around Mission District, which is where I was living.
Yeah.
And then we showed up early, which was something I was known not to do.
Yeah, exactly. See, in that part, you were really well versed in lucha libre because you were always late, as these guys
are. Arena Hayward is actually where I started to fix that, though.
Yeah.
Jason's classes, I started being on time all the time, and now because of my previous jobs, I'm actually on time all the time.
Yeah. Now, when you were training, going back to training, we're going to go back a little bit again. How was Jason's training as far as did you ever? Because I know he can be kind of extreme as far as his temper or the way you teach and stuff. How did you feel like, oh shit, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can deal with this. Yeah, you got slapped in the ear pretty hard one
time. My hearing is fine. I just took a hearing test, fortunately. But yeah, he's appropriately strict when I was at Arena Hayward. I've heard stories about him at BTW where apparently he was much more strict, before getting married. And training with him in Los Baños, he's even more lax. I think I really got with Jason at the right time, where he wasn't overly strict, but if you slapped him in the ear a couple of times, he was really going to fucking wallop you in the ear.
Yeah.
And I remember another guy screwing up a lot, and, he pounced on him and put him right down on the ground. And the guy was legitimately scared.
Yeah.
But it was the right amount of strictness. It really was. If you did something right once, you can do it again.
Yeah.
And if you didn't do it again, he was pissed. And he was right. And I think that's absolutely correct. Yeah. He'd show you something until you got it right, and then he expected you to get it right from then on. No mistakes. It wasn't like, oh, you got 2 out of 3 every time.
Yeah. And speaking again to the discipline, a lot of the lucha instructors, it was like you said, it was whoever showed up, and whoever was the first one to show up. It would be either rockero, Mexican style. But I think when Meteoro joined us, it was more of okay, this is set. He's going to be the one leading the class. He's always going to be there. But a lot of the luchadores like Puños, guys like that, would want to go and train with Jason instead. Even though Jason does know lucha libre, but they wanted to get more of their basics down, and they saw that it was more of a well put together class. So that was
yeah. I think Puños and a lot of the lucha guys too wanted to be able to work an American show if the opportunity arose.
Yeah.
I know that's one of the reasons Puños went there. I know Butrick. One of the reasons he wanted to learn Jason's was actually kind of the opposite reason of why I want to learn lucha. I want to learn lucha to do it with Americans, not knowing that it doesn't work that way. And then he wanted to learn American to do it with luchadors.
Yeah.
Which might work a little bit better. But yeah, don't do lucha with gringos.
Yeah. What was some of your favorite seminars that you've had there?
Sky Days. I mean, you can't beat just the repetition. I wish there was more repetition with Sky Day, if anything. Yeah,
even though he charged you twice.
Well, let's not talk about that. All right, I'm still waiting on some gear. Haven't seen the photos of the gear. I think he's got it made. Just waiting for the man.
Yeah.
Just waiting for the man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's here's a pro tip. Don't ever ask another luchador to bring you gear.
Yeah. But really and truly, Sky Day seminars, whether all the seminars I've been to, including the ones over Zoom, Sky Day is really number one. Pong, I did a live one with Pong, a live seminar, and that was pretty good as well. That was, I got a lot from that. Okay. But that was more storytelling versus, lucha libre.
Okay. Now, how has lucha libre or pro wrestling affected your personal life? Has it ever been to where either you got hurt that you couldn't go to work or anything similar like that?
Yeah, so when I signed up for Arena Hayward, those were some of the most productive years of my life. I was just firing on all cylinders. Whether I was dating somebody, I would also be, doing the wrestling training more than anybody else at our school. I would come, Sunday mornings for Jason's class, Sunday afternoons for the lucha, Monday evenings, Wednesday evenings, and then Saturdays. So I was doing lucha, 4 days a week, working 5 days a week full time, union organizing a lot. I had a union office even where I was the head of that, and I had to balance that out with lucha libre. And that's actually the reason why you don't see me in a lot of the pictures from Arena Hayward, even though I was there more than anybody else. For those picture days, I would often be doing a seminar about union organizing. Oh. And then the day that the week that Arena Hayward closed, I resigned from the union and I broke up with my then girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that was just things were just falling apart. I was just like reset.
Yeah. Yeah. And that time, like you said, you didn't want to do the beautiful Boone gimmick, even though, like I said, it was I was like so happy that it was getting over. And then you did, okay, we talked to you and we decided, okay, you don't want to do that. So let's do something else. And the next show, like Alan and DJ won the tag belts. You were just like, damn it.
Yeah, you know what?
By the way, it had nothing to do with like, oh, we're going to teach Boone a lesson. No, it just... They're over. Like, the crowd loves this gimmick. Yeah. Let's put the belts on them.
Well, hey, you know what? I'm glad I could have been a part of getting, Alan over. If nothing else, that was really my goal. My personal goal was to get Alan over as doing that gimmick. Everything else about the gimmick, I didn't like, and I didn't want to do it. I didn't understand.
Do you still have a shake weight?
I never had a shake weight. I wouldn't even come to the ring with a shake weight. I would sometimes borrow theirs, but I would typically just come to the ring with my bow tie, take it off, dance with whoever I saw, and then, yeah.
That was perfect, man.
Yeah, and you know what? My gear got stolen too after I was supposed to make the comeback as the Crusader. It was like
It
the
was me, Boone. I stole your fucking gear.
fucking kill you. Yeah, I had got a boot on my car, and I didn't realize that I left my car unlocked, and no windows were smashed, but the trunk was cleared. No bottles, no more bottles in my trunk, and no more wrestling gear. I don't know what they did with Beautiful Boone and Crusaders wrestling gear. I looked up and down Mission Street for it.
Other than the antibodies gimmick, anything else you found disappointed in wrestling? Like you thought it was going to be something else when you were on the outside looking in, and now that you did it, anything you found disappointing?
I didn't think it would hurt that much. I mean, I knew it was going to hurt, but man, it really hurts. Like your back will really feel it until you build up that tolerance. And that's kind of one thing, you know, like when we go back after all this, like how's my back going to be? I was fortunate that, you know, I bought a new car while I was training at Arena Hayward, right, probably at the peak of it hurting. Mm-hmm. So I had heated seats. So every time I jumped in that car, I hit that heated seat and relaxing drive home to San Francisco. Yeah. That's, what else? Not a lot of disappointments overall. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And outside of wrestling, outside of lucha libre, like I said, you and I became.
Oh, you know what? There's one big disappointment, and I think it's that my expectations got really elevated when I went to that first wrestling show where I saw, or first lucha libre show where I saw a Tijuana family, and I saw a luchador running late, and he had his mask on, he had his bag, he had his wife and his kid, he pulled up in his nice car, and he went in, and like just the amount of kayfabe was really, really stuck with me. And I think just the laxness of everybody on kayfabe really was a letdown overall. And it still really is. I think that's what makes this sport or art the most compelling art in the world today, because of kayfabe, because it's art, but it's real. We treat everything like it's real. And when you don't, I don't like that. And, you know, I was very serious about my mask for a long time. I would show up every time with my mask, take it off in the locker room. Never crossed my accounts, my social media accounts. And it wasn't until my friend wrote an article on me, and I asked her, you know, like, this is just like you and your teacher, right? Like, this is just for homework. And she's like, yeah. Well, she was a reporter. So once her name built up, my name also went up in the Google. So, you know, I would go on dates with people, and they have already like done a little personal background check, and they already knew who my identity was. And then I went to work, and I was just like, well, shit, you know, some of my coworkers, they did background checks on me, and it's like, oh, well, I guess the gig is up. Yeah. And that's kind of when I decided, okay, you know, I don't need a kayfabe Crusader anymore.
Yeah. I had to ask you before this interview.
Yeah. That's the biggest letdown, is people don't take kayfabe as seriously as I do. Yeah. Even my social media accounts, you know, it really looks like I love dogs a lot and that I'm really sad a lot.
Yeah. No, yeah. I text you.
Yeah.
I posted something, and I haven't been to Hood Summit in a while, so I only follow what people post or highlights. And I know you did that thing with Schnary. And yeah, you posted something, and I called you. I'm like, dude, are you all right? He's like, yeah. I'm just selling.
Yeah.
You son of a bitch.
And you know what? That's what makes this the most compelling art form, is that like it's real. You can really, if you're willing to really push that envelope, even on people who know, or people who are into it, like they can get so much more enjoyment out of it.
Yeah.
I recently just did a promo where I took Avatar: The Last Airbender, which was a cartoon on Nickelodeon for a while. My current girlfriend loves it, and she always cries every time the scene plays or I play music from the scene. And it's about this uncle and his son dies in war. And this is like his birthday ritual for his son. And it's the saddest thing in the entire series. So I studied it. I pulled the Jesus cruise, and I got all the angles the day before that I wanted to shoot. And then the next morning I got up, 4 o'clock in the morning, went out to the hill and shot everything. And I just mimicked exactly what that was. And even though I had tagged that, you know, I kept kayfabe for the recording and for what I wrote, but I'd even tagged it, like Avatar, The Last Airbender, Uncle Iroh, and a lot of my non-wrestling fans, or not a lot of my non-wrestling friends, commented like, "Oh yeah, like we're sorry about your dog," and just like, this is way overly produced for anything like that.
Yeah.
But I know the fans that got it, and they enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you always put, definitely, even in Ernie Hayward, when you're a Crusader, you put a lot of thought to your promos. I shot a couple with you. We went to that church over in Castro Valley, stuff like that. So you always had a good eye for stuff like that. And I really appreciated that. Speaking of, cinematography and stuff, you also were in two of my short movies. 2 or 3? I think 2. You were
2 with you, and then 1 with your friend.
1 which one? Oh, with Renee.
Yeah.
How was that? Did you do acting before? I know you would do little video skits before, but how was it like working with actors and working with the crew?
It was really cool. It was interesting to see how you guys shot much better than I had previously done it. Because previously, I had no experience other than theater class, and that didn't really teach us filming. So I would set up, 2 cameras and then shoot. And I learned about like the 180 rule from you. And so that was really a great experience. I would really like to even do more action stuff with that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it was great having you and working with you. So just lastly, what's next? What's next for Bigotes? What's next for Sweet Sour Boone?
Well, once the coronavirus pandemic is over, we got to kind of see where everything is. I'm really interested in working for Jason still. I'm really interested in not just working for Hood Slam, but really pushing the envelope and making it as much money as I possibly can, because that was another thing that Ryan talked about too. It's about making the company money. You need to be the most valuable asset they have by drawing the most tickets.
Yeah.
So I'd really like to, whatever it takes, whether it's promoting my personal self or pushing the envelope on the promotion, I'd really like to help push Hood Slam to whatever is next for Hood Slam. And beyond that, before this pandemic, when I was, still working, I saved up, $15,000 to open up my own promotion during the pandemic. Because even though I knew it wasn't going to happen anytime soon, I would have that money stowed away. So I'm going to invest that into different places. And once this pandemic over, hopefully I'll start promoting here in the city.
Okay. That's great, man. I really, like I said, you already met one of your goals in wrestling, which was Hood Slam. So I don't see why you won't hit another dream, another goal. So
I made a really earnest attempt 2 years ago to, open up a promotion. I had a warehouse on Mission Street, Mission and 23rd, and it unfortunately collapsed. Not quite literally, but one of the walls did collapse, literally. Yeah.
That's a good thing people weren't in there watching the show.
Yeah. So I would really like to do my own promotion and push the art form to the next level. I see a lot of markets that aren't being tapped into and creative ideas that I haven't seen any other promotion really do yet, which I got to really get on, because whenever I got an idea, somebody else always does it right before I do, because they already had the money, they already had the ring. So now I got the money. When the pandemic is over, hopefully I can build that.
Yeah. Yeah, right on, man. Anything else you'd like to share? Anyone you want to shout out? Maybe your man crush, Meteoro.
Hi, Meteoro. Just, thank you to all the people that have really been there. You, Jesus, Jason, Mantis, Chic, Meteoro. Thank you to all of you. I'm working on a new project too, Arts of Labor, at Arts of Labor. Don't have a lot up right now, but once I go back to work next month or this Monday, I'm going to start getting back on a schedule to upload things.
Okay. That's great, man. Like I said, we became really good friends over the years, and I really do appreciate all the help that you've done for Arena Hayward, like the posters and just pretty much anything that we've ever asked. Going out with me to hand out flyers and all that stuff, drive people around. I really miss receiving your texts or calls in the middle of the night saying, "Hey, I found this casket. Do you want it?" No, I don't want a casket.
It was a free casket. It was on the side of the road, Jesus. If I had a truck, I'd have been at your house with it.
Damn. Did you use it for Hood Slam or anything? And
No.
Yeah, that's the most. I just found a casket in San Francisco in the middle of the street. Well, anyways, thank you, Boone, Bigotes. Gracias por todo. Te lo agradezco. And that's it for Indie Handshake, edición de Lucha Libre with Bigotes. I'm Jesus Cruz, and we'll see you next time. That's our Arena Hayward war cry.